2 years, 24 months, 104 weeks, 730 days. How long does it take to plan a cruise? Hey YouTube, what's going on? I'm the Cruise King, and before I get into my vlogs of our Allure of the Seas cruise that we just came back from, I want to talk to you about the planning that was involved in it. I think that's a really important step when you are putting together a vacation, is the planning in it. So for this particular cruise, it started about 2 years ago when my wife had mentioned maybe going on a vacation for my daughter's Sweet 16. Of course, I heard vacation and all I thought about right away was cruise. So of course I started researching right away. I knew we were locked into a 1 or 2 week period where we were going to have to cruise, so I started doing some research. First thing I did was I made a spreadsheet. I made a spreadsheet of all the different cruise lines that I thought about cruising on, and at the time that was Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, and Princess. What I did was I went on each of the websites, I looked up all the possible cruises and all the possible locations that I wanted to go and all the different ports that were available, and I made a big spreadsheet. Once I made that spreadsheet, I had narrowed it down to the ships and the itineraries that I liked based on price, based on kids program, etc. After looking at all the cruise lines and narrowing it down between Norwegian, Carnival, and Royal Caribbean, I decided on Royal Caribbean for a few reasons. We had heard they had a good kids program. I've never sailed with my kids before, so I didn't know, and I was basing that on research. But I had sailed Royal Caribbean 8 times previously. I've never sailed on Norwegian. I've never sailed on Carnival. So I kind of went with what I knew. So I had narrowed it down to a few Royal Caribbean sailings. There was an Allure of the Seas sailing on the Western Caribbean out of Fort Lauderdale. There was a Harmony of the Seas sailing out of Miami. And then there was one of the Freedom class ships sailing out of Galveston. I was very curious about sailing out of Galveston on one of the Freedom class ships because of the price. That being said, we weren't too keen on flying all the way to Houston and then having to drive to Galveston. So what we ended up doing was booking a cruise on Allure of the Seas to the Western Caribbean. At the time, the reason why I booked that cruise was the Allure of the Seas was about $200 to $300 a person cheaper than the Harmony of the Seas. The only real differences between the Allure and the Harmony are the Abyss slide, and I believe they no longer have Sabor on the boardwalk. They have the sports bar. So besides that, they're pretty much the same ship. So for the difference in price, I thought of going with the Allure. Now it's time to decide on the cabin. I had originally thought about booking a balcony cabin and putting all 4 of us in there. My wife then said, think about this. You have 2 teenage girls, 1 bathroom, 2 teenage girls, 4 people. So she had a suggestion. Why don't we look on getting connecting rooms? So what I ended up doing was I booked 2 connecting interior rooms. The price was good. 2 rooms, 2 bathrooms, 280 feet or so in square footage, as opposed to 1 room of about 180. Now here's where booking in advance really helps. I had originally booked my cruise about 18 months out. I checked every week, every 2 weeks, I'd go onto the Royal Caribbean website and see if there were any price drops. There were 2 or 3 times where I found price drops where I called up my travel agent and got newer pricing. I had saved probably $700 or $800 just from price drops alone. This is why I think it's important to always book your cruise as far out as possible. Because anytime the price drops, all you have to do is call your travel agent or call Royal Caribbean if you're booking it yourself, and they'll give you the price drop. That applies anytime up to final payment. So as I said, booking in advance is really, really important. So about 5 to 6 months before the cruise, you can start booking your dining reservations, your shows online on the Royal Caribbean website. Now, this is especially true on the larger ships, the Oasis class ships and such, because you have to book dining every night. You have to book your shows, the Broadway shows, the comedy shows, the aqua shows, whatever it may be. So that's another thing that's important about doing things ahead of time, is that you have to book all your dining reservations, your shows, etc. The other thing that I didn't mention was this entire cruise was a surprise to my daughter. We really didn't talk about her Sweet 16 until a few months out. And we started talking to her about, what does she want to do for her Sweet 16? She wasn't going to have a party. It was too much money, So we had talked about her maybe wanting to go to the city. She had mentioned she wanted to go to a restaurant in the city. So we said we would plan that, we would do it. And we were going to do that. But then on her actual birthday, we were going to surprise her with a cruise. Well, what my wife and I had put together, most of the credit goes to my wife. We had planned a scavenger hunt for her of different clues to get her excited about the cruise. Before we told Rebecca, we decided to let Emily in on the secret just so she would be prepared when we did the scavenger hunt. Here's her reaction.
All right, so we want you to be in on her 16th birthday gift.
Okay.
We want you to feel like you're part of it. So that's why we decided to tell you early, but you have to promise, swear, that you are not going to tell her.
I promise.
I promise.
I will not tell a soul.
I will not tell a soul.
For 24 hours.
For 24 hours.
We're going on a cruise at the end of August.
What? Yeah!
Now I filmed that and I put a little video together for you to watch. So you can see this video right here, how we surprised her for the cruise.
Go. I'm ready.
Oh my god. You might want to open the box first.
Sometimes it's hard to muster up the strength to keep up with you, but we wouldn't have any other way. Remember when we used to send you out to jump to burn off some energy? Trampoline? I hate you guys so much.
Why?
I can't believe how the years have sailed by so quickly. It's truly amazing to see how you've changed, and not just in no longer needing a diaper, though there was a time we weren't sure. Where did we spend way too much time changing? Now that you're 16, our hope is that you'll continue to cruise through life into your adulthood with
We may not let you live to see 17 and cruise on.
You've always demonstrated that attitude will take you so far. So can Mom's car. I know it may seem like getting your permit and eventually your license will seem like your passport to freedom, but it really is the first step to adult responsibility. Being 16 is a bridge on that road. Where might it take you? No one knows, but it could start with this first step in another one's shoes.
Like me.
In 2 short years, you ship off to college. Stop. That will be our biggest challenge as parents, but we feel confident in knowing all your hard work and skills paid off. Think of all the hours you spent doing homework and know that it is worthwhile. I was saying in my room. The allure of your future is probably getting stronger and stronger. Now that you are 16, you can probably taste it. It's all at your fingertips. Who held and will continue to hold your fingertips all those years ago, though walking, running, and sometimes even falling. Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys.
You got to follow the directions on the last clue.
Oh, sometimes even falling.
No, the whole last part.
Who held and will continue to hold your fingertips?
Stop.
You?
Yeah? I'd let you just pretend her hand.
Okay, I'm so sorry. You know what? I'm so scared. Okay. Thank you.
We'll go to the sugar factory at some point.
Okay.
Good. So you can go clothes shopping and stuff.
Yep.
What? It's from me. What does it say?
To a special daughter with your loving thoughts on your 60th birthday.
What?
I know the entire I was waiting for this with the cruise and I'm like, how did you stop at Allure? I was like, wait, what?
What are you talking about?
Stop, wait, no.
What does it say? Can I see it?
I'm going at
Now that she knew about the cruise and she was all excited, it was time to get them involved in the planning. Up to this point, they knew nothing about it. So Now we could start planning our excursions and what we wanted to do in each port. Of course, Rebecca wanted to do 5,000 things in each port, but I said we can't do that much, but let's start planning them. So that's what we started doing, was planning our excursions. It's important to do some research because you have two choices. You can either book your excursions through the cruise line or book them independently. We did a mixture of both. We did 2 of our excursions privately and 1 excursion through the cruise line. And we'll get into that later as we go into the vlogs. Another thing that you need to take care of is airfare, especially if you don't live in Florida and you don't live near the ports. I started booking airfare and started looking for prices about 6 or 7 months before the cruise. I had finally found a price that I was happy with on an airline. I booked it, all set, booked it on a Thursday night. Got an email Monday morning saying your itinerary's been changed. Your return flight has been canceled from 11:30 and it's been rescheduled to 6:30 in the morning. Well, if you know anything about cruising, a return flight home at 6:30 in the morning will not work. So I ended up having to cancel that flight and rebook it. That took me about another 8 weeks to find another flight that worked. Finally found a flight that worked and booked that probably the end of May, beginning of June, I believe, or sometime in that area. And that was all set. So here we are getting ready to leave on a cruise. We're a few days out. Our plan was to leave on Saturday morning, August 25th, fly into West Palm Beach. We were going to stay with some family, which was great. Haven't seen my cousins in a little while, so we were going to stay with our cousins, have them drop us off at the port the next day, and off we go on the Allure of the Seas, ready for our vacation. So there you have it. I just wanted to talk to you about some of the planning that was involved in putting together this cruise or any cruise. There are some people who plan things very quickly, very last minute. I am one of those people that, if I can, like to plan things out long term, try to get everything set up ahead of time. It's up to you. But I just wanted to talk about some of the plan that we used for our vacation. And as I said, over the next few weeks, you're going to see our cruise through my eyes, through my family's eyes, hoping you'll enjoy it. Hopefully you get to enjoy this cruise with us. And we will see you on board Allure of the Seas.